Hey, yo.
If you just give me a little more
excuses.
time.
You have more excuses.
Chicago's own masterpiece.
You're fired.
There it is. He's gone. He's history toast. He'll sing a song.
Na 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 na.
Oh no.
Na 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 na.
Are we allowed to sing with
Hey,
him?
hey, hey.
You can. Yeah. I guess we all should.
Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Hey, hey.
You're horrible.
Na 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 na.
Look at the look on everybody's face.
Hey, hey, hey. Goodbye. Louder now. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Hey, hey.
Welcome to the OverAF podcast. This is Alex Thorn, and I'm joined by our brand new co-host who is now permanent. You've heard him before. He is...
Dangerous Danny.
Man, it's been a whirlwind of a week for OverAF, specifically for me. The other co-host no longer with us. God rest his soul on this podcast.
Sorry, man.
You don't know what to say. You're like,
I don't know.
But we're here. You guys have enjoyed the camaraderie, the chemistry between me and Danny before. Obviously, we're always looking at numbers, and as any podcast, as fun as it can be, is a numbers game. But still, the highest rated, the highest downloaded podcasts literally have been the ones with me and Danny. So I think what's best for this show right now is to keep this chemistry going and go forward with today's episode, which is going to be ECW Heatwave 1998. How do you feel about coming onto the show on a more consistent level?
Oh man, I'm super excited. We have a lot of fun. We're just talking, man. We just have conversations. I think people enjoy that, good chemistry. We're just talking about wrestling, and I'm super excited to be back.
Man, normally when an ECW episode was brought up to me, I did not want to do it at all. When you brought up Heatwave 98, I just said, yes, okay, no problem. I'm watching it now, and it's interesting because I don't have the bias that I usually have towards it. I'm actually open to it on this episode, especially when you open the show with Shane Douglas and Francine, who, oh my God, dude.
Hottest chick in wrestling at the time.
Oh my God. Like, sunny days were over at this point.
Right.
She's already, diving into her demons hugely. She's been let go from the WWF. She was the hottest thing going in wrestling, like as far as just somebody who was sexy as hell. Those days are gone. It belongs to Francine at this time.
Oh, absolutely. Francine, and ECW obviously was the renegade, federation, so they were not afraid to show some skin, I believe actually in one match, I remember, I think it might have been Dreamer or Sandman that did a power driver on her, excuse me, and she actually exposed her boobs.
Yeah, when they turned her upside down, they fell out, right?
Exactly.
Because you know what I remember the most out of that, obviously besides rewinding the tape 100 times to see it, was I remember her like letting go of his leg to protect herself and then trying to cover herself up.
Right.
And it was like, okay, she kept one arm on him and the other arm to try to cover herself. But, at that point, there was no saving the moment.
Exactly.
But you know what? I've got to ask you. I've never done an ECW episode with you. This is the first time you brought this one up. How were you watching ECW at this time in 1998?
So ECW used to come on around like 2 o'clock in the morning. Me and my cousin and my friends would stay up just to watch it. It was like on channel. It was a crazy channel. It was like channel 62.
I thought it was on channel 26.
It was a weird channel.
Wasn't it like Mancow, Muller, and
yes, exactly.
Right.
But the thing is, showing our age back in those days, we had the rabbit ear antennas. And man, we had to finagle that thing just to get that right reception at the time. But It was amazing. It was ECW TV. Now, I mean, it's so much easier to see all these pay-per-views, obviously with the WWE Network. But back in those days, man, you know, watching it on, you know, channel 62 or 26, whatever it was cool because we couldn't wait. You know, it was like, man, today ECW's on. We're gonna stay up late. We're gonna watch it, have a lot of fun. It was great.
A lot of this for me is brand new.
Okay.
I know of them because I saw clips of them. I saw, you know, if I could stay up till 2 a.m. back then, because I was like 12, I think 12 or 13 back in 1998. I would see what I could of ECW, but I was never, ever, ever a fan. So even watching this and review, to watch this with you today and review it, I'm seeing some of these people like Chastity. And I'm like, wait a minute, wasn't she in WCW with Sandman as Hack?
Yeah.
I don't know Sandman as Sandman. I know him as Hack from WCW. You know, just incredible in passing. Nicole Bass, I've never seen her in ECW. Only saw her on WWF, but it makes sense that she would be in ECW.
Just Incredible's gimmick in WWE. What was that again?
Aldo Montoya.
There we go. Aldo Montoya.
I slightly remember him as Aldo Montoya, but I had no idea until years later, like, you know, internet years later, that he was Aldo Montoya.
Right.
I never made that connection because he looked like he was literally just a child, like a, you know, an 18, 19-year-old kid, which I'm sure he was, right?
He was at the time, yeah. And for those of you that don't know, he was actually like one of the unofficial Click members as well. You see a lot of times he's on Sean Waltman's podcast. They talk a lot about that. And yeah, he really made it big at Just Incredible, man. He was really over in ECW, you know.
He was one of the big-time players there.
Yeah. Oh, Impact Players. Get
Impact
it right.
Players, yeah. Was that the name of the team?
Yes.
Oh, my God, okay. That rolled right into
close.
it.
Yeah, Impact
That rolled
Players.
right into it. Well, the reason we're talking about Just Incredible is because this show opens up with Just Incredible versus Jerry Lynn. This is, I believe, the third or fourth time that we're seeing Jerry Lynn in the run of this podcast. And it's almost seems like it's impossible for Jerry Lynn to have a bad match.
Yeah.
Like, that just doesn't happen, right? It's you when you say, hey, Jerry Lynn's going to be in a match tonight, you automatically know it's going to be a good match.
Let me say this. This is what I'm going to compare. Jerry Lynn, to me, is ECW's version of Bret Hart. What I mean by that is that he is such a great technician, man. He does not make a lot of mistakes. He's a great wrestler. You could put him in there with anybody. He's going to have a phenomenal match. Just Incredible here. He's with his whole entourage. He got like 6 people outside the ring.
Yeah, there's a lot of gaga, a lot of gimmick to get him over.
A lot of gimmick to get him over. But it's a fun match. You know, they have a really, really good match.
It's consistent.
Yeah.
It's really consistent. But I will say this, like, throughout the match, there's not too many high spots to point out in the match. Once it's time to go home in the match and all the interference starts happening, that's when it gets really exciting. Why don't you recap that last, minute or so of the match?
Yeah, of course, you're gonna get interference from everybody that's on Just Incredible's entourage. Jason, the sexiest man alive, takes a power bomb.
ECW's Buff Bagwell.
Yeah, and then ECW's China. Nicole Bass comes in and
right.
takes a low blow, and then a chair shot, and then Chastity comes in as well. She takes a tombstone power driver. Yeah, the match ends here with another low blow by Just Incredible. They're both on top of the ropes, and he hits him with his finisher, which is That's Incredible. Tombstone power driver from the top rope. Just beautiful move.
Yeah, I gotta agree. I'm not a big Just Incredible fan, but man, was that smooth. It was spot on. You could tell he tries to catch himself a little bit to easing up the blow.
Yeah.
Obviously, you don't want to come from the second rope with somebody else's body weight on you and just go straight into the mat. So he tries to soften it, but he does such a good job. Do you think he actually blew out his knee for real?
I don't know. I mean, he's probably just selling.
I don't know. Whether it's a sell or not, I think it would do some type of shocking damage. At least, throwing it up to your hips.
You're carrying a lot of weight.
That's a lot,
coming
man.
Down. I mean, so.
Easily, it's like 380 pounds total together coming down on your knees.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it's a solid match. From there, we roll into Lance Storm, Mr. Personality himself,
If I could be serious for a minute.
taking on Chris Candido with Tammy Lynn Sitch, formerly Sunny. From the reaction of Joey Styles, it seems like this is Tammy's first appearance.
Right.
Because he's saying, oh, look who he has with him.
Right. Candido's got the
Rick Steiner headgear on.
Gimmick.
Which is interesting because like she introduces him, which I mentioned this before we even pressed record. She looks like she's on something.
No, yeah, absolutely.
This doesn't look like the Sunny of just 1 year ago, or even a few months ago at WrestleMania,
Yeah.
or at Backlash, whatever the pay-per-view was back then for 1998 in April. It doesn't look like the same female.
Not at all. If you look at her eyes, just look at
Yes.
her eyes. Yeah, look at her
Yes.
eyes. Listen to her speak. You can just tell there's something.
The way she's speaking,
Yeah.
her eyes and then her body movements seem a little disconjointed, like she's not really sure how to put everything together.
Right.
Versus in WWE, she looked amazing, looked great, looked well put together. She was on shit back then too, but here it's out of control completely. The one thing I will say, even though I've never been a Chris Candido fan, and nothing will make me a Chris Candido fan, he is well put together here. This guy looks like he should be a wrestler.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Him and Lance Storm. Lance Storm is no slouch too. I mean,
No, Lance is always a steady hand. He's not somebody that I would look forward to seeing a match of,
Right.
but he's a steady hand.
Yeah. Well, he had no promo skills,
No,
At all.
and no entertainment skills, but he was good, and people noticed that, and people respected that.
Yeah. I remember, was it Austin that buried him? They called him boring?
In WWF,
Yes.
yes,
That did it.
that killed it
Killed it.
because people knew he was boring. But once somebody popular says it, it's done. Nobody's gonna look at you the same way again.
It was over.
Yeah. Honestly, there's no grand spots in this match again.
The big spot, actually, the best spot of the match is the finish, which is a super dangerous move. Power bomb from the top rope, and you could tell Lance Storm, man, he took it really bad. He dropped it right on his head.
Well, that's what I was going to get to is like during the match, there's really nothing to call out to, just like the first match.
No.
There's really nothing there, but the ending, the finish is where it's all at.
Absolutely.
With Tammy getting in there, she's interfering, they take off her top, which is a distraction, and then there goes that big power bomb off the top rope, which is, like you said, super dangerous, having to flip yourself backwards. It's incredible.
Right.
Well, there you go. That's incredible.
Yeah, that's incredible.
So the last two matches finished with a top rope maneuver. You
Yes,
notice that?
yeah.
The opening match and then the second match both follow up with that. This match went 11 minutes. Perfect timing for both of these guys. It shouldn't have gone any shorter, any longer. They did well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good
And
match.
again, Sunny.
Good mid-card match.
Good God, what happened to you, woman?
Oh, yeah.
You were amazing. Once upon a time.
Once upon a time. That's what drugs do to you, my friend.
Yep, once upon a time, honey. Masato Tanaka versus Mike Awesome. And if it seems like we're running through the show, we kind of are because there's not much to talk about until we get to this match.
Right.
This is the match that we kind of are going to spend some more time on because there's so much action in here with Tanaka and Awesome. There's so much there. What do you remember from these two guys?
Oh, my God. I mean, this is just violence. This is, if you want violence in ECW, this is it. I mean, Masato Tanaka, his big, gimmick is that he can take, 3-4 chair shots. I mean, I'm talking about, unprotected hard
Like
chair
a head of
shots.
steel.
Head of steel, and he just keeps getting back up. My favorite match of the card, definitely.
Did he work any other American feds of recognition?
Not
No,
Tanaka,
right?
no. Tanaka just exclusively worked for ECW. Obviously, Mike Awesome went to WCW. But he was, Mike Awesome.
That 70s guy?
Yeah, that 70s guy. This guy, look at that beautiful mullet, too.
Oh man, no, I agree with you. Beautiful
Yeah,
mullet, but
yeah.
the thing, he's never deny his athleticism at all. The thing that struck me about Mike was when I saw him, I said he kind of looks goofy from the face.
Yeah.
He slightly has awkward movement, but it was impressive because he was a big guy who could move like a small guy, but also still used his power, which a lot of guys forget about. You know what I mean? Like they're big, but they want to move like the small guys, and then they don't do any of the big guy stuff. He had this perfect mesh
Right.
of all of those styles combined.
Yep.
I think the only thing that killed him was his face, that he had this goofy face that he
Yeah.
couldn't change.
Wasn't a great promo either. They put Judge Jeff Jones with him, too. He almost breaks his neck in one of these spots too when he does it.
One of those Undertaker over the top rope WrestleMania
Yes.
spots.
He almost breaks his neck on a guardrail.
Oh my god.
And again, his head might be stuck under
Oh
the guardrail.
my god. His head got stuck under the guardrail.
That was a bad spot. But there's a lot of
Jesus,
bad
dude.
spots in this match. I mean, the chair shots are absolutely brutal.
Yeah.
A lot of, table spots too. My favorite spot of the match, you guys aren't going to believe it, but Tanaka actually razor's edges Mike Awesome outside into a table, dumps him right on his neck.
Tanaka isn't even half the size of Awesome. That's what's amazing about that finish. And that's what you're talking about. It's really close to the finish. I kind of want to go over Mike Awesome a little bit more.
Yeah.
Before we, close it out or anything, because there's so much meat on the bone for this match. What did you think of Awesome in ECW? Take away his WCW, what you know, all of that.
Yeah.
Before you ever saw him leave there, what were your thoughts on him?
I thought he looked like a champion. I mean, he had all the tools, like you said. He was a big guy at speed. He can do. I mean, he was doing frog splashes. You don't see a guy that size doing frog splashes like that. The guy had it all, man. He would have been better if he had a better promo. But as far as like the look and his work, he was amazing.
So again, like I said, I saw him in ECW, and I thought, okay, that's a big guy. Like that's pretty cool. That's somebody who should be in another Fed. I thought that right away, because I didn't watch ECW consistently. But I actually didn't have a problem with his promos. I thought the way he did his promo fit the way he looked in terms of his face.
Okay.
Again, like I keep saying it, he had a goofy face, and he kind of spoke goofy too.
Yes.
He
exactly.
had this way of talking that matched the way he looked. So I didn't have an issue with it. I mean, if he looked tough and then sounded goofy, then it'd be a different thing. But he looks goofy, talks goofy.
He's got a baby face.
But he's in that. How old was this guy?
Yeah, he's got a baby face.
Yeah, he looked like, you know what? Maybe in another 20 years he'll look like the rest of his body
Like
does.
an adult. Yeah, exactly.
Like an adult.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I just realized that. He's got like this adult body and like a 12-year-old fat kid's face.
Right.
With the chubby cheeks and all that, even though he's not fat at all.
Yeah.
Was there any truth to the rumor that he was related to Hulk Hogan? Did you ever hear that rumor?
Didn't hear that rumor.
Yeah. I had heard something similar to that nature, that he was related to Hogan. I just don't know if it's true. I'm sure some of you, once you hear this, will probably correct us on Twitter. By the way, OverAFpod on Twitter. If he's any way related, please let us know. There's a spot in the match where Tanaka completely rips out Great Muta and goes to the end by the entranceway of the ramp and runs all the way and then hits him with a chair. It's awesome, but it's even better in Japan because those railways are like WrestleMania style.
Yeah.
They're like football stadium size. Could you imagine Ultimate Warrior being able to run on one of those and that image? How cool that would have been.
Well, he'd be blown up like he usually
Look, first
was.
of all, we're not talking about that. We're talking about the imagery, sir.
Sure. Yeah, sure.
Okay, sir? Could you not put down the legend that is Ultimate Warrior and just understand what I'm telling you? The image of that man running all the way down those... it would have been great if he could have went to Japan and done something like that, which I think he was, actually. But WWE at the time, he had a match
We're
with...
in Japan. I gotta see that.
Warrior versus Ted DiBiase in Japan.
Wow. Huh.
But I don't think he ran on the ramp. I think it was kind of flat, like WWE style. I don't know if it was I don't know if it was a Japan style ramp.
Okay.
Because that would have been, I'm telling you, it would have been an awesome image.
You know what I would have loved now? Well, nowadays with all the pyro and stuff like that you got, it would have been really cool to see Warrior run down, and then like as he's running down, you just see like explosions going off. You know what I mean? Like fireworks going up as he's going down the ramps, kind of like he's running like an action movie. Yeah. That would have been phenomenal.
They were getting there with WrestleMania 12 with that weird thing that they were doing for like Sid and Warrior and a few other people.
Yeah.
They were doing that. Did they do it for anybody else? You remember? You know what I'm talking about, though, right? Yeah. That thing that would come down behind them. I think Double J. Jeff Jarrett had the two J's that came down.
Right. Oh yeah.
Sid had Sid that would come down, and then Warrior had his logo.
Right.
Right. I'm pretty sure Nash or probably Shawn Michaels were agitated that they had those.
Right.
I could imagine Shawn wanting one.
Yeah, absolutely.
But before we get too sidetracked with everybody else, get back to the match. I mean, this is as hard-hitting as it gets. I mean, as good as Candido and Lance Storm was, and Justin Credible and Jerry Lynn, Tanaka versus Awesome, I think this might be the match of the night. We still got 3 more matches to go after this. But, man, this is an amazing match.
Amazing match. I mean, Tanaka's hardcore, Japanese strong style. I mean, you don't see chair shots like this anymore.
No,
The ECW
with good reason.
With good reason, man. I mean, you don't think about it when you're watching it back in the day. You think like, this can't be real. Those chairs got to be rigged, or But I mean, it's unbelievable how many chair shots this guy takes, and he just keeps on getting up.
When it came to the finish of the match, the Razor's Edge to the outside after several attempts from Mike Awesome himself, Tanaka finally gets it done, drops him on his head. Do you think he should have just rolled him in and pinned him there, or do you think there was a purpose to have that elbow, the roaring elbow, finish the match?
I mean, he didn't finish with the roaring elbow. Remember, he finishes with the DDT on the chairs. So it's a tornado DDT on 2 chairs. That's what finishes him off. Well, it makes Mike Awesome look strong.
That's true.
So.
What? But the roaring elbow, was that his finish?
That's his finish.
Then it should have ended it there.
Yeah.
They shouldn't have taken the DDT as well. I think that was a mistake. But either way, if you could re-edit this match, I would end it with that roaring elbow. What's funny is, again, this is the 3rd match, and it ends with a finisher from the top rope or the second rope.
Yep.
There's nothing that's happened in the middle of the ring because it's so impactful by itself.
Right.
Everything has been like the super version of a finisher.
Right.
Like we said, Tanaka goes over in an amazing match. Definitely the match of the night so far. We head into this tag team match with RVD and Sabu, best friends.
Yeah.
Weed buddies.
With Bill
Alfonso. Taking on Shinsaki and Hayabusha. Now, I know Hayabusha, but Shinsaki is Hakushi.
Right.
He looks amazing.
Yes.
I didn't know that shit wasn't tattooed on him. He had to go through that every night.
Every night.
Dude, that gimmick, that's dedication to a gimmick.
Amazing.
Because I know me and you would have just put ABCD and just
absolutely, right,
we would have ended up looking like the acolytes at the end of the night, just 3 stars across our chest. Okay, call us the Shining Stars. It's over.
Yep. The Shining Stars.
There's no way. Then you got to get somebody to help you put it on every time.
Yeah.
Equally in the mirror, each little letter.
I don't know.
Dude, so he did come from Japan, right?
Yeah.
Like straight from Japan?
Yeah, absolutely. Him and Hayabusa. Hayabusa had a really cool look, too. I always loved the way he looked.
I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, but did we not see Hayabusa or rip-offs of Hayabusa in every single dollar store coming in up as a kid?
Absolutely. He was like the default wrestler.
Right?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
He was the 99-cent wrestler next to the rip-off Hulk Hogan.
Yep.
And generic wrestler number 1, generic Hulk Hogan number 2, and then Hayabusa.
Yeah, exactly.
He was the masked wrestler. Before Rey Mysterio could really come along and be popular, he was the default masked wrestler.
He was.
But again, Hakushi as Shinsaki, he looks really, really cool. I believe this is their first match as a tag team.
Yes.
In ECW?
In ECW, yes.
Because Joey Styles is pretty much introducing them. By the way, I feel like RVD and Sabu are truly, they're out of it here.
Absolutely. But they still,
they're still good, but they're so relaxed. They're kind of in friend mode.
Yeah.
There's one way where you...
a couple of joints, man.
Well, you know how you're professional, you're one way, you're working your gimmick, and then you're like, oh, we're just 2 buddies out there.
Of course.
That's the way they come off here.
Yep, absolutely. RVD, my favorite ECW wrestler.
I agree with you. I'm with you 100% there.
Yeah.
Right up until Bully Ray happened, where he truly became a heel, RVD is definitely the standout from ECW.
Absolutely. When you come to WWE and beat John Cena, it doesn't get any, doesn't get any better than that.
He's that's another consistent guy, man, where you just put him on the show, and there's been a few times in this podcast where we've seen him in TNA, in ECW, in WWE, and it's just like he's that Jerry Lynn where you know it's a good match.
Yep.
He's not gonna not have a good match. It's always gonna be something good. What I was surprised at was how Shinsaki Hakushi got over so well with the crowd.
Yeah, I think they remember him from his WWE days. So,
of course.
But this match is more of a wrestling match. You don't see like, oh wow, we just saw RVD just flew out of nowhere with the frog splash. That was amazing.
Holy shit.
I mean, you want to talk about athleticism.
Yo, okay, so
You got to see
when you watch this show, you have to go to an hour and 28 minutes, right?
Yes.
An hour and 28 minutes. Sabu sets up Hakushi for a Hurricane Rana off the top rope, and you think it's done there, and out of nowhere, out of camera sight, comes RVD from an odd angle and hits the 5-star frog splash. It's like a fucking superhero.
Unbelievable.
That looked like a comic book, like a cartoon.
Yeah.
Like somebody just randomly threw a toy into the ring.
The way he just moved his body was amazing. Yeah, this
dude.
is a good wrestling match. Like,
Jesus.
of course, you guys are going to be surprised by this, but the ending comes from the top rope once again. But, you know, before that, I mean, you guys got to see. It's a good match. It's a really good match. You can tell that these guys, the guys that came from Japan are more used to actually wrestling an actual wrestling match.
Oh yeah, there's not going to be like hardcore stuff.
Yeah, they're not very, hardcore. Beautiful.
450 splash, right? To perfection.
Hayabusa.
You know what? They got over because they were so good at what they did.
Absolutely.
They're the heels.
Right.
They're foreign heels, which actually in ECW, I think being a foreigner actually got you more respect versus WWE. If you were a foreigner, you were automatically a heel.
Automatically.
I loved how many versions he had of Rolling Thunder.
Yes.
Like you didn't know until he calculated, like, oh shit, I don't have enough space to flip, or I'm gonna have to do this. He would just kind of call it on the fly what he would do.
Yeah.
What are your memories of Hakushi in WWE? Did you actually? He had a program with. That's dangerous. He had a program with Bret Hart.
Bret Hart, yes, that's the only time I remember. But it didn't really get over. He didn't get over. He didn't get over. He couldn't do a promo. I don't think he spoke English.
No.
So, did he have a manager?
Yeah, he had a manager with like a white face or something.
Yeah.
But even he didn't talk.
He didn't do anything for him.
He would have been better off with, which I'm pretty sure he couldn't do it anymore, but he would have been better off with somebody like Mr. Fuji.
Yeah.
Who could actually speak for him.
Yeah, exactly. Like, why are you wrestling Bret Hart? What's the story behind it?
I don't remember. I remember just seeing it in passing, like,
Yeah. Yep.
See, this is, so I'm going to talk from a wrestling point of view. You could tell that they talked about a spot with the table. They're trying to go through with a spot with the table. Somebody slips in. Sabu slips in one table. Somebody randomly slips in a second table because, hey, we talked about this, so we got to do it.
Right.
I know these guys are good enough to switch on the fly, but somebody in there is not letting go of that table spot.
Nope. Yep.
Now, what's that called?
The Van Daminator.
So both of them are the Van Daminator,
whenever
unless he
put
goes from coast to coast.
Correct. Then that's the Van Terminator.
Okay. Bill
That fucking
Alfonso.
chair out the way.
Bill Alfonso making sure that the table doesn't break this time. That it stays sturdy.
Because this is the finish. So they have to have a table. This is the finish of the match. Where they're putting Hayabusa and
Hakushi.
we could call him Hakushi, fuck it.
Yeah.
That's who he is. And then Van Dam.
If that's who you were in WWE, that's who the fuck
Yep.
you are.
Top rope.
Well, you know what? Yeah, I see why they wanted the table. It's a spectacular ending.
Right. They wanted the flashy ending.
Yeah. Now this makes sense to end from the top rope. Like there's no getting around it.
He pushed him away. And that's the match.
Thus begins the storyline. Yeah, so RVD and Sabu take it home in spectacular fashion with a dual dive off the top rope. It's awesome. All right, Danny. I've got to talk about this next match. So we've got this cross storyline, right?
Right.
The real beef is between Taz and Shane, right? And then Bam Bam comes in to defend Shane,
Right.
or just because he has beef with Taz.
Oh, remember, Taz and Bam Bam had a match prior to this one. So it's a grudge match where they had the match where Bam Bam goes through the ring.
Yeah.
Remember that?
No, I saw that. That's a highlight reel.
Because this is the faction that they have. Remember, it's the triple threat. The triple threat was Chris Candido, Bam Bam Bigelow, and
Shane Douglas.
Shane Douglas. That was
Shane Douglas, Bam Bam, and Chris Candido were a
threat.
thing?
Yeah, they were the triple threat.
Really?
Yes. And WCW,
Jersey
the
Triad.
Jersey Triad.
Now that I remember, that made sense because they were all from Jersey.
Exactly. Yep.
That's an often forgotten about trio too, man.
Yep.
Canyon, Bam Bam, and DDP.
Yep.
So Shane is here with a broken arm. Any legitimacy to that? Was it legit at all?
I don't remember actually.
You don't know?
Might have been.
Because he sits out this pay-per-view.
Yeah.
He does commentary only. From what I see in the promo package, he does do matches, but he's heavily taped up. It almost seems like he may actually have an injury.
Oof.
Like he may actually have an injury. But anyways, this is a good opportunity to talk about Taz, Shane, and Bam Bam all at once. What were your thoughts on Shane Douglas? I mean, Shane kind of popped up out of nowhere as being an actual thing.
Well, I mean, he's the foundation of
ECW.
ECW. I mean, he's the one that he dropped. Was it the NWA title at the time?
The
Remember?
NWA title, because they were affiliated ECW Eastern Championship Wrestling with NWA, which that's still a thing today, by the way, that you get affiliated by NWA and you have to pay a fee, by the way.
Right.
I know
Exactly.
this. I've got friends who started up feds and they were like, "Oh, we're gonna bring legitimacy to this fed." Idiots.
But yeah, he was the foundation. He's the one that brought the title in. So, I mean, I think if you look at the Mount Rushmore of ECW, who would it be? I would say mine would be probably Shane Douglas, RVD, Tommy Dreamer, Sandman.
I guess I can't make one. I just know for me, when I think of ECW right away, I think of Rob Van Dam, I think of Taz, I think of Shane Douglas.
Okay. And let us know too on Twitter who would be your Mount Rushmore.
I love it, man. OverAFpod on Twitter. Let us know exactly. One of the things is that Shane doesn't get credit for anything ECW anymore. They've done so many ECW reunions in the indie scene, in WWE, in TNA. They try to resurrect it. And Shane was never a part of it.
No,
Is it because of, actual heat with certain people?
Might be bad blood. Yeah, he had some bad blood with people. He stepped on his head. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah.
Maybe there's actually something going on. I might reach out to Shane myself one day and just ask, because I was a fan of the franchise Shane Douglas in two different spots of his career.
Yeah.
I liked Shane in WWE. See, a lot of people don't remember. Around 90, 91, he was in house shows and even in a Royal Rumble at one point.
Right.
He was like white meat babyface. Just think of, generic babyface number one.
Right.
That's what he was. I liked him. I thought he had potential. I think he spent some time in WCW as well, right?
Yeah.
As just this white meat babyface.
Right.
I liked him at that point. And then I liked him when he came back to WCW as a franchise in the Russo years.
But I know he got heat with, I think it was Ric Flair.
Yeah, of
Which
course.
kind of,
yeah.
if you got hit with Ric Flair, good luck to you. Good luck having a career.
Yeah, exactly. But the other party that's in this match, of course, is Bam Bam Bigelow, this is 1998. So this is after his return to WWE. He's done with WrestleMania 11. Doesn't make it to 12 and 13 and 14. When did he reemerge in your eyes into the prominent scene?
When he came back to ECW, I think those were to me, those were his best years. I mean, he had a new finisher too, because I thought the finisher he had always in WWE or WWF was kind of weak for him.
What was it?
But it was just a top rope headbutt.
Oh,
Here he had Greetings from
yeah.
Asbury Park.
That's a badass move.
That was a badass move.
That's a badass
And that
move.
matters, man. You have a big guy like that doesn't, a top rope headbutt doesn't seem very menacing, It's not.
The great thing about Greetings from Asbury Park is that he's so big that he can protect you.
Yes.
He's got a lot of meat everywhere, a lot of fluff, so a move like that looks devastating, but he'll actually protect you.
Exactly.
You know what? For me, I was never a fan of Bam Bam, and I've never been a big fan. I'm not saying I disrespect him at all. I respect him, but I've never been a fan of him. He's never really. I don't know what it was. I know that the getup made him look more threatening because it was flames on the big guy.
Right.
But I actually thought his getup detracted from him.
And the tattoo he had on his head.
Yeah, I thought that it was like, if he had a different look, I might have taken him more serious.
I watch him in ECW. I know you don't watch ECW, but watch him on ECW. You're going to get a different version of him. He's not the WWE. Let me do moon. You know.
No, well, like I
and
remember him.
cartwheels.
So I'll give you a brief history. Like besides not really caring about him, I saw clips of him when he was in the Hulkamania era. I was like, that guy looks out of place. I don't know who that is. He comes back for the new generation. I'm like, really? Okay, whatever. I see him do his thing there. I'm like, yeah, I really don't care. I still don't care. Saw that he showed up in ECW. Again, I'm like, well, I guess that's cool. Whatever. Then he shows up to face Goldberg in WCW. He starts interfering in matches right around Goldberg's first loss of at Starrcade. And I started to like him. And I started to say, okay, I see it. Now he's showing some personality with the Jersey Triad. But then he also got lazy because of WCW. They didn't book him correctly. So it's just like, I will watch him. I'm watching him here. I could see that he's a very serious guy. And I could also see he slimmed down quite a bit from his earlier years.
You know what his downfall was, too? His character never evolved.
No, that's what I'm saying.
He was always bad. Like, his attire was always the same. You know, he looks like a biker. He could have gone with a biker gimmick. He's got the shaved head, the tattoos on the head, tattoos on the arms.
You know what he needed? He needed that career revamp like the Big Boss Man had.
Something different, right?
Where Boss Man went from bright blue colors, he was the Boss Man. I got it. He still could have been Bam Bam Bigelow, but with a completely different, look to him, just like this guy did.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like Ray Traylor did. Obviously, the highlight crazy part of this match is on the rampway. Even the photographer woman, look at she's shocked.
Yeah.
They go for a suplex, but Taz actually turns it into a DDT, and they go straight through the ramp.
Yeah. It was just like their previous match where Bam Bam went through the ring. Now the spot is on the ramp.
It kind of like comes expected now and says, oh, that's cool. That's cool, but it was a big deal back then.
It's a cool spot, man. I mean, you see WWE stole a lot of their...
Yes.
A lot of those things you saw on SmackDown and stuff, where people going through the ring or the ring, breaking and stuff like that. That was all in ECW.
Wasn't there a moment where Undertaker did something with Mankind and he went through the ring? Not through the Hell in a Cell, but there was like another moment where it was like a choke slam or a tombstone where he went through the ring or it broke. And I'm sure that came from here.
Of course. Yeah, absolutely.
That came from ECW.
Yeah. And we all know, Paul Heyman and Vince were in a business relationship back in the day. So I'm pretty sure, they had some...
After this gigantic spot that makes the crowd go, holy shit, as they should, there's a kind of a weak finish to the match where Bam Bam pops out and then Taz pops out and puts on a very weak Taz mission on him, which I think it takes him like 2 seconds to tap out. Yeah. And because Taz is so small and Bam Bam's so big, it looks like he just put his hands on Bam Bam and Bam Bam tapped out.
Right.
Very weak finish. It just didn't look good. It should have just maybe just put his hand on him and ended it there. Nonetheless, it's a cool moment. Still not the match of the night.
Not the match of the night. Not at all.
We got one more left.
Main
event time. I'm going to let you introduce the team that I don't give one good shit about.
Really?
Yeah.
The Dudley Boys.
I didn't say that.
Oh, okay.
I think you know what team I'm talking about.
Okay. All right. Well, here we have the main event. It's Tommy Dreamer. It's the Sandman. And it's Spike Dudley.
Taking on the Dudleys. Bubba Ray Dudley, Devon Dudley, and then Big Dick Dudley, which didn't Big Dick die?
He did.
It sounds weird saying it that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, didn't he passed away, right?
He did.
Okay. He's a very big guy. They do the whole claiming that he has 26-inch pythons arms. He tries to go over the top rope, but he barely makes it. He definitely looks like somebody who they overhyped.
Right.
Because in ECW, he is a big guy. But if he came over to WWE or WCW, he'd probably be pretty standard size. Yeah, he'd be pretty standard size. By the way, just a side note, you mentioned Rusev right now. My God, has that guy gotten smaller?
Yes.
From the person I saw at WrestleMania a few years ago against John Cena.
His face, everything. I mean, the mustache he got now, it's just, I don't know.
I don't care for the mustache and the hair anymore.
Yeah.
I think he actually did himself a disservice by getting this look, this Rick Rude 1990 look that he's got going on right now. But from a physical standpoint, I used to watch that show, the Total Diva show.
Yeah.
And he would always be on there with Lena, always talking about working out, talking about his thighs. And you could tell he was dedicated. You could tell he was always trying to get smaller. Because when he came on board, he was kind of loose.
Oh, yeah.
But he was thick. He was loose but thick. And now, I mean, I think he's too small. Almost where it takes away from his presence. You know, Rusev had a presence before. Now he doesn't. He just seems like another guy there.
The Bulgarian Brute doesn't look like a brute anymore.
No, he just looks like another manufactured guy. Like if he came out right now from WWE, I'd be like, yeah, that's a WWE guy.
Of course.
That's a WWE, fitness guy, or whatever.
Yeah, and I'm not too happy what they're doing with him on WWE either. Not to go off,
Yeah, but it's okay. You know, people listening, they watch today's product as well.
Yeah.
I only heard about what they're doing. I don't want to get into detail about it. I think you saw it.
Yep.
Yeah, I only read about it on some dirt sheets. Yeah. But back to the match. Bubba Ray, Devon, they cut a scathing promo on the crowd, which I think they were known for back then. I keep seeing them start out these matches with hot promos against the crowd.
They've almost started riots, Thorn. I mean, these guys...
I've heard.
Bubba Ray, that guy had no filter. I mean, he would call out, he would tell a fan, pardon my language, but he told one fan, and I remember one of the pay-per-views, he's like, we got a mother over here who taught her daughter how to suck dick. Like, that's the type of promo that this guy would,
Well, did they boo him?
Absolutely.
Would they boo him today?
Mean, no.
Exactly.
No, it was...
The fans today would laugh and start cheering.
No, but I mean, he would call, if you want to kick my ass, come into the ring. I remember when I went to the TNA show that I saw Hulk Hogan on.
That's right, yeah. We both went to that show. Separately, but we went.
Aces and Eights, and they were doing the same thing. They were telling the fans, hey, come in the ring.
They were throwing stuff in the ring.
Yeah.
That's before half the crowd left, but still, they were throwing things in the ring.
Man. I mean, Bubba Ray's always, he's been one of my favorite promos. Because he just did not give a shit, man. He was... I'll say it.
I've said it before. I'll say it again. The two biggest alumni from ECW are Bubba Ray Dudley and RVD.
Absolutely.
On the other side, Tommy Dreamer, who I've expressed on the show before, I'm not very fond of. Nothing personal. It's just from a character-wise, I just don't understand the guy. I just don't. He's too soft.
He was Rocky, man.
He
was Rocky.
Rocky achieved things.
You got your ass... He achieved things. He won
What?
Come on, man. He beat Raven for the title.
You could believe in Rocky. You can't believe in Tommy Dreamer.
Why not?
No, he looks like he eats donuts for a living.
Man. That's why he's the everyday man.
No,
he didn't fucking look like Chris Candido or any of these Adonises. He was the everyday guy. That's why people cheered.
The problem is he had everyday talent as well.
Yeah. Just
because you get in the ring and you start crying doesn't mean you deserve something. Anyways, you got Sandman.
Give us your feedback. If you're a Tommy Dreamer fan, let us know and tell Thorn he's fucking crazy.
Sandman.
Yeah.
Come on, man. What do you remember about this guy? Did you?
I mean, he's.
Were you impressed with him when you saw him?
He was just. You could tell he was coked out every single match, man. I mean, he was. He wasn't a wrestler. He was just a guy that, would come in and hit his fucking 3 moves of doom, the kendo stick.
He's awful.
The fucking...
He's awful, man. I know he was hot in ECW at one point, but I mean, he okay, here's the thing about him. He seems to be able to put the puzzle pieces together to become a regular human being, a functioning athlete or whatever performer, let's put it that way, when needed. So I've never seen him do well in ECW. I've always seen him be sloppy there. Yeah. But when he was Hack in WCW, he actually kind of pulled some shit together. Like he followed through on plans, you could tell. Yeah. When he came back to WWE for that ECW 2.0, he actually looked like he was following, whatever they talked about backstage. So when needed, he does what he has to do. But I think he's such a probably random fuck up in his own personal life that he can't keep that going consistently.
Yeah, I mean, you could, like I said, every match, you can tell he's completely coked out. I mean, you have to be to smash a fucking beer can over your head
and bust your
head open every single match, and he's still bleeding.
Yeah.
It's the start of the match. He's still bleeding. I mean, not a normal person that's not on drugs is not going to do that.
No, not at all. And let's not forget about Spike. Spike, who comes through no matter what. I liked him as Brother Runt in TNA. I like some of the stuff he did in WWE. Yeah. As long as he's not doing the Hacksaw Jim Duggan, cross-eyed and weird face thing, I actually am okay with Spike. Yeah. He's a small guy. Now that's the underdog. That guy I get. It's just when he starts doing the silly faces, and that's when I don't like it.
But that was his gimmick as a Dudley.
He fixed that up in WWE, right?
Yeah, he was different in WWE. He was like kind of more serious in WWE.
Right.
But what was great about Spike is that he's such a small guy. You can do so many things with him. Remember,
I love it. Yeah.
Bam Bam Bigelow threw him into the stands. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
He press slammed them all the way into the crowd, and they body surfed him like he was dead. So that's the great thing about Spike Dudley, man. He was such a small guy, but you can just throw him around.
Absolutely. And this is the second time I see a multi-man match be the main event of an ECW pay-per-view.
Yeah.
You don't get that often with the other two brands, or even the other three brands.
Right.
Soon to be 4 brands. Because I want to say this right now, as AEW grows and continues to grow, I think when they're around, month 10 or a year in, I wouldn't mind revisiting some of their first few pay-per-views with you.
Yeah.
Just to kind of talk about it at that point.
Absolutely. The good thing about having these matches is you get to showcase a lot more talent,
ECW wasn't afraid of doing multi-man main events. And that's cool because we're so used to seeing one-on-one. It's nice to see this.
Are they not the originators of the triple threat?
I'm sure it started in Japan first and then moved its way to ECW and then over here.
Okay.
Because the first triple threat...
Wasn't it Raven, Dreamer, and Funk for the title?
Oh, wow. That's real early.
Yeah.
That's like, what, 95, 96?
Yeah, it was one of the really, really early...
Oh, we'll get into that. Oh, I can't wait to talk about like triple threat matches at big pay-per-views.
Oh, yeah. We're going to get to that, guys. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, I can't wait for that. But this is a fun main event. I mean, it ends with Tommy Dreamer, Sandman, and Spike Dudley going over on the regular Dudley boys. But it also ends with... New Jack. Who, on just like the last ECW pay-per-view we reviewed, which was Heatwave 99, it ended with New Jack coming out at the end.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing in ECW this was a thing.
Yeah.
Where he would just come out at the end of the match and
the
kind
crowd would go crazy. He would
and the
come
crowd
out with
would
a
go wild.
shopping cart. He would bring his shopping cart in full of weapons and, he would just clean house. He would hit the guy, whoever it was in the nuts with a fucking
hammer or something.
with a golf club.
Jesus Christ.
I mean, it was, he would do the guitar. He would do the Jeff Jarrett guitar spot.
I think it was a little sloppy, but I think if New Jack, was feeling good about you, he'd probably take care of you. Would you chance it?
Absolutely not.
I chanced it with Necro Butcher one time.
You're out of your fucking mind.
Dude, the nicest guy.
Really?
I was scared out of my mind backstage.
Of course, man. You just don't know.
I was afraid. And then when we were in the ring together, he was just like real soft-spoken and real just, he pulled a Thorn.
Yeah.
Just take me in the corner. Just
work
just
me
choke
over here.
me.
Yeah, put
Work
me in
me
the
over
headlock.
here.
I'm blown up.
He asked me. It was so nice. We were in a battle royal, and I thought it was so nice of him. One time we were in South Milwaukee, and he asked me, "You ready to go over?" And I'm like, "No, not yet." "Okay, buddy." And then he just walked away, went over to somebody else, and I was thinking, man, if you wanted to, he could have been a real dick and just tossed me over the top.
Yeah.
No, he was like asking me, "Are you ready?" "No." "Okay, let me go to somebody else." Yeah. He was so nice, real nice. So, like we said, the main event was a fun main event. Overall, if you were to point somebody to one match on this show, what would you point them to?
I would say the Tanaka and Awesome match.
I'm with you on that.
Was it's ECW. I mean, if you want to see, violence. I mean, don't get me wrong. The main event was like that too, but
I think if you're a fan of today's wrestling,
yeah,
you would definitely appreciate Tanaka versus Awesome.
Right.
It's 12 minutes of just pure solid rock 'em, sock 'em, hit 'em. I mean, it is so good. And for me, it worked because I'm into like the bigger guys of wrestling, and he's facing Tanaka, who I'm okay with because he's solid, he's strong, he looks like he could put up with whatever Awesome can do.
Right.
It's a really good match from an aesthetic point of view, an athletic point of view, and it's just fun as well. So, gotta ask you, in this pay-per-view, who did you feel was over AF?
I'm gonna say that's a hard one, man. Let's go with yours. What I think of mine.
Well, for me, I believe Tommy Dreamer, as much as I don't want to admit that,
okay,
Tommy Dreamer was over AF here. The crowd just seems to be digging everything he does. They're 100% behind him. And sometimes I'll pick a heel as well to be over AF, but in this one, there's no doubt the most over guy in the entire pay-per-view is Tommy Dreamer.
You know, I'm gonna go with Tommy Dreamer as well. I
Yeah.
think you're right. Yeah. No, I mean, he was the face of ECW. You know, at the time. Obviously, you're main eventing the pay-per-view. You're the guy.
Yeah.
You know, so you're right. Absolutely, Tommy Dreamer.
Absolutely. All right, people, this was fun. Me and Danny cannot wait to get back at it again because next week we've got TNA Lockdown 2009. This is a Danny choice.
Oh, yeah.
Why did you pick Lockdown 2009?
Main event mafia, baby. That's all I'm gonna say.
The main event, which there's a lot of matches here, but the main event is Mick Foley versus Sting.
Oh,
You
yeah.
hear that? Mick Foley versus Sting. The last time these two guys met was in WCW in like 1992.
Dream match.
It's amazing that TNA got these two legends together to do a cage match in 2009. I cannot wait to review it. Danny, thank you so much for being a part of the show.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks
For
having me.
Danny Garcia, I'm Alex Thorn, and we are over as fuck.
Oh yeah.